Okay, could you acknowledge yourself for showing up today, please? All right. Welcome to A Course in Miracles. A miracle is a correct perception. A Course in Miracles describes a miracle as a correct perception. Because basically it's teaching that if we have a correct perception about anything, it's a miracle. So that's why it's called A Course in Miracles. If we see in a loving way, if we see in a forgiving way, if we give up some good energy for real, consistently, A Course in Miracles says that's a miracle. So that's what a miracle is. It's us seeing things correctly, us seeing things in a loving way, us really caring about each other the way we should. That's the miracle. And if you're here for the first time, I'd just like to say welcome to the strangest class you'll probably attend for a while. And you're safe, and I'm not trying to convert anybody any kind of way. It's enough dealing with my own stuff. I don't have time to try to convert or change nobody else. So you're innocent. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to welcome it. Some of the stuff I say may be hard to believe. It might be quite startling. But if you use it, you'll find out that it's true. So whatever you hear that resonates for you, that you can use, that you want to go with, by all means do that. Whatever doesn't resonate for you, just forget it and then use what you can use. Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Is that fair enough? Okay, we're going to continue with the development of trust. That's the section that we left off on last week. And we said basically, in order to kind of do a quick catch up, that the first thing that you want to do, if you're developing trust in yourself and developing trust in the higher power, that you have to recognize that all changes are helpful. That every change that you're going through is helpful. Every change you have gone through is helpful. If you want to have peace about your past, you have to see your past as having benefited you. If you don't see your past as having benefited you, you'll spend a lot of time trying to fix it. Where if you realize that it played a role in you becoming the person you are today, then you'll go ahead and appreciate the gifts of the past and move on. Because the present is where your power is. All your power is right now. We're going to make a change, we got to make it win right now, right?
Right now.
So the next thing we said in the next paragraph we covered last week was that in Development of Trust, page 10. Development of Trust, page 10, in the teacher's manual aspects of the course. All right, it's a wonder everybody don't pass out before we get started. Strangling, coughing, passing out, every kind of resistance you can think of come up in this class. That's right. You know, somebody broke out with diarrhea. I love the reactions. I love the reaction to a class that the only thing the teacher tells you is that you're innocent and you deserve to be happy. And it's the hardest class for people to come to on any kind of a regular basis. It's a class that's full of acknowledgement. So I want to acknowledge you for being willing to come somewhere where you're not going to be condemned. You know, I'd have like 10,000 people if I was condemning everybody. But I'm not, because I don't want to be condemned, so I'm not doing it, okay? The next thing we heard was that the only thing that the word value can only be applied to something that's helpful. That is valuable if it's helpful. If it's helping you achieve your goal, it's valuable. If it's not helping you achieve your goal, it's not valuable. So the most important thing is to get in touch with what the heck is your goal. What do you want? What is it for? That's the main thing to get in touch with about anything that you're doing. What am I doing it for? What do I want? What's the purpose of it? Because if you don't know those things, the Course in Miracles teaches that it's almost impossible to evaluate what to do. If you don't have a goal, how can you know what to do, right? If you don't have any idea what should happen, how do you know what to do? So most people, you ask them what they want, they say, I don't know. And what they'll do is they'll tell you everything that they don't want. And that's not the same as saying what you do want. The Course in Miracles teaches that when you say what you don't want and you focus on what you don't want, you project it out into the world and then you meet it. I don't want it. You know, when you go, I don't want it. I don't want anger. I don't want upset. You know, where do you want to go to dinner? But I don't want to go to McDonald's, and I don't want to go to Racine's, and you know, it's like everybody can always tell you what they don't want, as if that's actually a positive affirmation of what they really want. So you want to get away from that, what you don't want, the Course in Miracles teaches, and focusing on what you do want. And then everything that you encounter, once you decide what it is you want, then everything you encounter becomes a means to help you achieve your goal. So if my goal is to have peace with you, then I know what to do with everybody that I meet in this class. I want to go in the direction of what's going to allow us to have peace with each other. So when I'm with you, I know what to do because I know what my goal is. If I don't know what my goal is, I don't know what to do with you. All right? And most people don't know what to do with nobody. So they just try to hope the person might do something that entertains them in some way. Because I don't know what I want from you, especially in relationships. It's amazing how people just expect a good relationship to just show up. You know, it's just going to show up. But I don't have to do anything to make sure that that happens. So the paragraph we're going to start with, and then I'm going to cover some material, open it up for question and discussion for a few minutes, and then I'm going to cover some more material. So while I'm covering the material, I'm not going to answer questions. And then when I'm finished, then we'll throw it open. Fair enough? That way we can cover some material and not get stuck in analyzing it. Because you can't ask me a question from the course that I can't answer in 2 minutes. Now, your acceptance of the answer might take forever. So we can't wait around for that. Okay, so we don't hang around till you accept the answer that I give. But I can answer anything from the perspective of A Course in Miracles. I spent the last 30 years of my life studying it. And so it's brought about more miracles and more joy and than I could have ever imagined in my wildest dreams. You know. So what I'm working on right now is what I call my upper limit issue. And my upper limit issue is my capacity to receive the love that's coming back as a result of what I've done. Because it's so much love coming at me in my experience right now that it brings up any residue of unworthiness that I have hidden within me that I didn't know I had. So it's really interesting because you think you're all gung-ho to receive the good stuff when you ask for it. But actually when it starts to show up, you'll find out that you're not as good a receiver as you think you are. That one of your main fears is when the piano is going to fall on your head because you know it's so good it can't last. You know. So I'm glad I'm having that issue. It's a good issue to have. The issue of can I open my heart more, can I open my mind more, can I be more receptive than I've ever been before to my experience. And so the third paragraph, which is the third stage you go through, is the third stage that a teacher of God, which is the demonstrator of love, must go through, can be called a period of relinquishment. So when you're developing trust, there's going to be a period of what? Relinquishment. Now, if this period of relinquishment is interpreted as giving up the desirable, then this period of relinquishment is going to engender great conflict. If you think the relinquishment is you giving up something that you really don't want to give up, then you're going to spill a lot of conflict in developing trust. And so the Course says, few teachers of God, which is a teacher of love, escape this distress entirely. So when you read in the Course, it asks the question, well, what distress entirely? The distress of feeling like you're in conflict about something you think you've got to give up in order to be happy. So there's, however, no point in sorting out what's valuable from what's not unless the next obvious step is taken. If I've sorted out what's valuable from what's not valuable, what would be the next obvious step? To let go of what's not valuable. Which would be easy, except that we have a tendency to completely value nothing but what's not valuable. So therefore, it will look like Spirit is asking you to give up something that you really, really value. Okay, but it's not. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share with you how that's not true. If you think that you're being asked to sacrifice anything to study the Course in Miracles, then you're misperceiving a Course in Miracles. Also, if you read any passage of the Course in Miracles and you feel afraid or angry, then you are misperceiving what you're reading. It doesn't mean the Course is wrong, it means you are. Doesn't mean the Course is wrong, it means your perception of what you think the Course is saying is wrong. So the minute you feel yourself studying the Course in Miracles, those of you who are studying A Course in Miracles, and you feel like you're asked to give up something or do something you don't want to do, say, I'm misperceiving what this paragraph or this sentence is saying. Then what do? Go to the next one. Then if you don't understand that one, what do? You go to the next one. Then if you don't understand that one, what do? You go to the next one. And then if you don't understand that one and it drives you crazy, what do? You go to the next one. And then all of a sudden you see one that knocks your socks off with the power of it, And it's worth all the rest of them that you temporarily did not accept, because you will realize that it wasn't that you didn't understand what it was saying, you will realize you weren't ready to accept what it was saying. And since you weren't ready to accept what it was saying, you will say, what? I do not understand what it's saying. So I do not understand just means I do not accept. That's all it means. I do not accept it right now. So that's why it doesn't make any sense to spend a lot of time analyzing it. Because if you're not ready to accept it, because you analyze it for the next 15 minutes, it's not going to make you any more willing to accept it. So go to the next sentence. You may not have resistance to that one. You may hear it, and then it will eventually clear up the stuff that you weren't ready to accept. I'm giving you tips on how to study A Course in Miracles, because one of the biggest tricks that the mind pulls with A Course in Miracles is that it's too hard to read. No, you just don't want to read.
Right.
You know, it's just like anything else. If you really want to do it, you do it. If you really don't want to do it, you don't do it. It's just that simple. Let's get real. Okay, you're an adult. You can read a book if you want to read a book. If you don't want to read a book, you're going to come up with every reason why not to read a book. And you're innocent, because the truth is going to come to you through many other books besides A Course in Miracles. Isn't that great? I'm not sitting here saying this is the only way. That sounds crappy to me if someone says to me, this is the only way, and I don't even want to do it. You know, I'd much rather have a way that I want to do. I think I got this brilliant belief about the Creator. I think the Creator is infinitely intelligent. That's a rumor. Now, since it's an infinitely intelligent Creator, the Course says, then it works this way. It asks you to do what you can do and what you're willing to do from where you are right now. And it seems to me that would be a smart approach to getting somebody to do something. If I want to get you to do something, it would make sense to me that if I had the least bit of intelligence, I would say to you, brother, this is what you want to do. I will support you in doing what you want to do, and you can do it, and you can do it now pretty much. You know, like if I say to him, would you please give me a glass of water? In most cases, that wouldn't be a big sacrifice. He'd go do it. You know what I'm saying? But if I say to him, you know, give me all the money in your bank account, he may have a little resistance, right? Because he didn't want to. I don't know, do you? There you go, a spiritual teacher talking about money. You know what I'm saying? So, I love that excuse. That's a great one. But the point that I'm making is that you're much more likely to do what you want to do and what you're able to do than me asking you to do something that you don't want to do and what you're not able to do. So that whole idea that Spirit is asking for you to sacrifice and do what you don't want to do, he says that's our plan. We're so used to doing stuff we don't want to do that we think God operates like us. So it wasn't that man was made in God's image. Actually, man made God in his image. That's the way it really works. Yeah. We take our flaws and foibles and personality, then we project it onto the Creator. And so then we say, you know, we get angry and jealous, we say the Creator gets angry and jealous. We hold grievances, we say the Creator holds grievances. We murder, so we say the Creator wipes out everybody. Check it out. We've actually made the Creator, and you know, our idea of God is a giant dysfunctional being who needs therapy. You know, I'm just being real. Our idea of God is a giant dysfunctional man.
Old Testament for sure.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying that, but guess what? Anybody who sincerely wants to be loving and recognize the truth, they'll get the truth out of the Bible and any other spiritual book. The people who want to be loving will find a way to see the love. The people who want to condemn and judge will find a way to do it, even with the Course in Miracles. So it really depends on what your purpose is, what you see in any book you read. If you want to feel bad about yourself, you take everything you read to make yourself feel bad. If you want to feel good about yourself, then you read it in terms of what can make me feel more powerful and empowered. So ultimately, it just depends on what you want to see about yourself that determines what you receive out of what you study. So let's go back then. What do you want to see in yourself should be the thing that's most important before you do any kind of study. Am I studying this because I want to love more, love myself more, be more awake? Or do I still want to reinforce the idea that I'm not enough, I can't be loved, and I can never be happy? If that's the case, then you're going to look at whatever you study and criticize yourself and condemn yourself through it. And if you want to love yourself, you look at everything that's saying you're really this infinitely powerful, perfect, whole, and complete being. Just depends on your goal. So the period of relinquishment, the Course says, there's a period of overlap that's apt to be a period in which you feel called upon to sacrifice your own best interests on behalf of truth. You haven't realized just how wholly impossible such a demand would be. No way the Spirit be asking you to give up your own best interests so that you can wake up to the truth. As a matter of fact, it's for your own best interest that you wake up to the truth. So then it says that the teacher of love has realized as yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. What demand? The demand that you sacrifice your own best interests in order to know the truth. The Course says you can only learn that no sacrifice is being asked of you as you actually do what? Give it up. As you give up what's not valuable, you will realize that there's not a sacrifice that's being asked of you, and you'll learn that where you anticipated grief because you let go of whatever this thing is, you'll actually find a happy lightheartedness instead. So you find out that when you let go of what's really valueless, that what's really not serving you, you'll actually feel lighter than you actually feel heavy when you actually do it. Also, the Course says that where you thought something was being asked of you, you realize that there's a gift that's been bestowed on you. So the third stage is what? A period of relinquishment. So it's important to realize that you're going to learn what's valuable and what's valueless. You're going to let go of what's valueless, and you're going to accept what's valuable. There's only love, there's only fear. Only love is valuable, and everything else besides love is valueless. There's only peace, what's not peace is valueless. There is only joy, what's not joy is valueless. Now, if you choose to give yourself pain, conflict, and valuelessness, like some of us will do, right? Then Spirit will then take the error that you're making that's making you unhappy to be used to wake you up also to the truth of who you really are. So even if you do not choose peace, joy, and happiness, and you choose the struggle path, then Spirit will use whatever you're creating for yourself in struggle to bring you to the awareness that you're an unlimited spiritual being that deserves to be loved. Now, did you have to go through that struggle in order to come to that realization? No. But you chose not, and I chose not to listen and practice the truth. And when you don't practice the truth, then you suffer. The suffering isn't being caused by God. The suffering is coming from not practicing the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like if I burn my hand on the stove isn't punishing me. I broke a law by putting flesh on heat. So I can't say the stove is mad at me because I burned myself. I broke the rule, and so therefore I felt the pain. Now, you with me on that? Yeah. So if you're going through pain, don't blame it on God. Blame it on your disobeying spiritual law. Now, the law doesn't care whether or not you know it exists or not. It operates anyway. So most of the time when we're hurting ourselves, we have no idea why we're doing it or how we're doing it. Right? Mm-hmm. We're usually trying to follow the rules we were taught from the day we were born. Now, one of the ways we can know that many of the rules we were taught probably were not correct is there's too many miserable people. If everybody's obeying the right perceptions, why are you so happy? If you're doing it correct, why is it that you don't feel fulfilled? If you're really practicing the truth, why aren't you happy?
Well, because
yeah, because I know why I'm not happy. I know exactly why I'm not happy. It's your fault. I got that all figured out. I know what the problem is. The problem is you. I just wish you'd realize. Right? Isn't that right? That's pretty much the way people do it, right? It's your fault. If you just changed, I'd be happy. If you just did it differently, I'd be happy. If you weren't the way you are, I'd be happy. If black folk was different, I'd be happy. If white folk was different, I'd be happy. If rich folk was different, I'd be happy. Our plan is always about if somebody else or something outside of ourselves was different, we'd be happy. And so that's the belief that creates all unhappiness. That's the belief that creates all unhappiness. So I want you to know that if you start to give up what's not valuable? Attack, guilt, lack, blame. You know, all those are things that's not valuable. Believing that you're the victim of everything and everyone around you, thinking that love doesn't exist for you, thinking that you have no power. Those are all valueless ideas. So when it talks about giving up what's valueless, it's not talking about your clothes, your house, your car. It's not talking about material possessions. It's talking about ideas that don't serve you. The Course is talking about ideas that don't serve you, thoughts that don't serve you. It's not concerned with your house and your car and all that stuff. So when it's talking about sacrifice, it's not talking about any physical things. It's talking about ideas that we think about that keep us feeling really, really crappy and not loved and not connected. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So any questions or comments about anything I've said so far?
So when someone gets mad at us and we don't know why, it's because we're wanting to hurt ourselves.
When somebody gets mad at you and you make yourself upset about it, then it's you wanting to hurt yourself about it.
Right.
It's not you want to hurt yourself because they cuss you out. You want to hurt yourself when you make it mean something to you.
Yeah, are you?
Okay, because you have no control over what other people are going to say or do.
Right.
So therefore, it's your meaning that's giving it
Right.
the problem. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, it's like I gave y'all an example a few weeks ago about the lady that, you know, called it the N-word in the garage, right? And I didn't feel anything because I don't think that that's what I am. But it was a time that it would have been a different situation come down. So I'm just saying to you that no one can hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
As much as that's a popular conception that is possible, no one can hurt your feelings. If they don't physically attack you, there's no need for you to feel pain behind anything that anyone says to you. Only attack is physical. Attack is physical. It's not mental. It's not, that's a concept we made up. You call me out of my name, then if I feel hurt about it, it's because I gave meaning to what you said to me. I did not have to let that bother me.
Right.
So as long as somebody's not smacking you upside your head, and there's very few people in this room that's been physically attacked in the last week. Has anybody been physically attacked in the last week that would care to admit it? So we could tell you innocent. Okay, nobody's pretty much been physically attacked that they would admit. So there's been absolutely no excuse for any of us in the last week to feel bad about anything that occurred. Now, do I feel bad? Well, yeah, because of the conversation I'm having in my mind about it, because of the story I'm telling myself about it, how I'm interpreting it, how I'm describing what happened on my job. That's what hurt my feelings, and that's why I'm depressed.
And so there's a, sometimes because I'm asking myself, because I fall into the old patterns. I mean, I know better, but I react the way I react. And it's like, okay, that's the way it is.
No.
But there's, well, okay, but let me finish. There's a page where it's like, help me see this differently. I need another way to look at this.
Right.
I'm grateful for all the blessings that I've received,
Right.
and I am as God created
That's
me.
right.
Where is that?
All over the book.
Every
Every page of the book from the beginning to the end. Just open it anywhere. It'll be right there.
But that's an appropriate thing to bring into
Yeah,
the.
and always remember.
You and that
Right,
perception
and have your
of
feelings.
being hurt.
You didn't hear me say don't have your feelings. You have to understand. I'm never telling anybody in this
Yeah.
room not to feel what you feel. I'm saying feel what you feel. If you feel like you've been attacked, you can feel that way. If you feel angry, you can feel that way. Feel your feelings. But as soon as you feel your feelings, tell yourself the freaking truth. I'm mad at my mama because I think she never compliments me for what I do ever. And I'm really upset with that, and I never want to visit her again as long as I live, Okay, that's the way I feel about my mama. Then I come right behind it and say, I'm giving that all the meaning that it has for me. I'm the one creating the way I feel about my mama. Then you tell yourself, I'm thankful for what? I'm thankful that I have the ability to reinterpret it. I'm thankful that I have the ability to create the way I'm going to feel. I'm thankful that I create my experience. And then the last stage is for you to tell yourself, I'm still as God created me. I'm still as love created me. I'm still innocent. I'm still powerful. I'm still loving. I'm still free. So you still you end up on the truth about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You begin with the illusion about yourself. Most of us just start out with the illusion and stay there. Because we're getting the punishment that we think we deserve for being worthless sons of guns who don't deserve to be happy. So we're actually getting what we think we need in order to heal, which is punishment, which is feeling bad about myself. Because we've been taught that it's through self-punishment that you become a good person. So we actually believe, not we, when I say we, I'm not talking about y'all necessarily, I just like to use that term. But we still believe that punishment is correction. So we apply it to ourselves. And I'm saying, you don't have to do that. It doesn't work anyway. It doesn't work anyway. Yes, brother.
That third stage, so like the first stage, I noticed myself in a non-valuable thought pattern.
Right.
The second stage is to sort of accept, like, this is me, accept responsibility for that.
That's right.
And then I don't know, the third stage is confusing.
Okay, the third stage is to express gratitude, because there's nothing more powerful than gratitude. So when you go to the third stage, you go, you know what? I'm grateful I have the ability to change the way I see things. I'm grateful that I do have the power to create my experience. I'm grateful that I'm not just a victim of my experience. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can create it. I created it, and I'm grateful I can create it. Because if I can create the stuff I don't like, I can also create the stuff I do like. And that's what we keep forgetting. If I'm not a victim about the stuff I don't like, the good news is that I don't have to be a victim of any aspect of my experience. And that's what we forget. Yay! Okay. All right. Anybody else before I move forward? Okay, take a breath. Just take a breath for a minute.
I have a question.
Yes.
The power overlap, the period of overlap, I guess it says. Is that, basically, I'm going through an experience where I'm in one relationship, but I'm kind of seeing some things from other relationships that are very similar. And being that I'm the common denominator in the situation, you know, it's all me, right? So is that where taking and sorting it out is saying, okay, here's all these situations where I've been involved and I've created this situation. Now there's the valuelessness in those situations because of how it makes me feel. So that's where I'm getting to the point of sorting it out.
Well, you get to the point of sorting it out in terms of how much what is happening is helping you to achieve your goal. Remember that we said that what was valuable was what helped you meet your goal, and what was valueless is what doesn't help you meet your goal. So it's really about changing your perception of what I mean by valuable and valueless. So we're prone to think of, when I say valuable and valueless, that we're talking about a specific thing, not it's valuable. Like if you have the goal of having a really peaceful, loving relationship, and you're in a relationship with someone who's constantly condemning you, criticizing you, not appreciating you, then by definition, that relationship is not valuable. By definition, that person is not valuable. If they're not helping you achieve your goal, it's not saying they're not a valuable person. They're not valuable in terms of what you're trying to achieve. But if you're trying to beat the hell out of yourself, and you're miserable, and you hate yourself, and you don't love yourself, and you think you should always be going through drama, then this person is going to be very valuable to you. And you're going to not let them go, and you'll be one of these people going, why is it I can't let go of this person that hurts me all the time? They're helping you achieve your goal. You don't think you deserve to be happy, and they're helping you. So instead of being angry at them, you should be grateful that they're so beautifully performing their role. And some of them would do it more than you even ask for them to do. They will like be determined that you're going to really know you're a bunch of crap. You know, you sure you want to know that about yourself? I will remind you. And even when you forget, I'll remind you what you did 6 months ago. Not only should you be feeling bad about this, you know what you did last Christmas too, right? So someone who, when you want to be punished, their job is to help you remember the very things you say you want to forget. If you want to be loved, then when you feel bad about yourself, the right relationship would be someone that's reminding you that you deserve to be loved even though you made a mistake, and the mistake is for correction, and we can move past the error. But I want you to know you're loved. You appreciate it. Those are the kind of relationships I have. But they didn't just happen. I had to do what was necessary within myself to start have that happening in my life. I didn't just sit back and go, oh, it's going to change. No, Earl had to change. I had to change. And guess what? That was the easiest person for me to change. Yeah, I'm not saying it was easy, or it is easy. I said it was the easiest person for me to change. Because in the beginning, you know, everybody gonna promise you they're gonna do what's gonna make you happy when you're in the honeymoon period of a relationship. We all gonna tell each other all that stuff, right? I mean, y'all hip to that, but you're over 16, right? So by now, you know we all give each other the line at the very beginning. Because what we're doing is letting the person know what it's gonna be like when we get through going through our stuff. Like if we really work through our issues and do our spiritual work, we really will be the way we were treating each other at the beginning. In the beginning, I call it the preview of coming attractions. That's the little courtship honeymoon period. This is the way we're going to treat each other all the time when we really sane. But we're not now, but this is what we're going to be like. You know, so now you can pick your toes at the table, and I'm going to say that's so cute, because everything you do when it's new is cute, right? Then 6 months later, they put their toe up on the table, you chop it off. So it's a different kind of attitude later on in the relationship. So be realistic in the beginning, and if it's really beautiful, say, what can we do to maintain this? What can we study? What is our plan of action? Even have a relationship fire drill, where you go, and when you lose your mind, this is what we gonna do. You know what I'm saying? And if you lose your mind, this is what we gonna handle it. You know, do that before you get upset with each other, instead of waiting till you get upset with each other and try to come up with it. Do a relationship fire drill.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's not complicated. You just have to love yourself enough to do it. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, no other question? Yes, my brother.
Practically, what would be a relationship fire drill? Like, what do you think would be a good way?
Okay, a relationship fire drill would be me saying to, well, let's just pick her. She's your relationship fire drill, right? Okay, at some level, I can see, you got the look. All right, now. That perpetual smile, they never leave the face. It may last forever. Now, well, for me it would be, okay, now if my ego comes up or your ego comes up, how are we going to handle that? Well, first thing we want to do, the Course in Miracles teaches that you really want to go to a place of peace. So as quickly as possible, we want to get to a place of peace before we try to talk this out. So that means that we might need to separate for a little while you study and I study, while we cool off, so that we come together, we won't be in such a distorted perception. So the first thing to do is separate for a minute until y'all have a chance to focus on some truth together and come back to peace. That would be the first thing that you would do. And then once you come back to peace, then it's about, let me have a willingness to take a look at what I did to contribute to this. So then I'm going to take some responsibility for what's happening. These are just some suggestions. The other thing you can do is you can say to the other person, ask the other person this question: do you want to join or do you want to separate? Because if they want to separate from you, nothing you're going to do is going to work, because they're going to use everything you do as an excuse to be separate from you. So if you're real nice, they're going to get mad at you about that. If you're quiet, they're going to get mad at you about that. If you talk, they're going to get mad at you quiet, because they want to separate. So once they want to separate, then so you can save yourself all that processing if you just get straight from the beginning. Do you want this to work? Do you want this to happen? And if you don't want this to happen, then we need to, how can we peacefully not make this happen? Okay, but don't do the jab, say, I want this to happen, but I'm not willing to do anything different to make it happen. So then you have to be, love yourself enough to know that when somebody give you some jab like that, you don't fall for it. Don't tell me, baby, give me another chance, but then I say, okay, let's go to counseling, and then you go, I ain't going to counseling. Well, I'm not going to do anything to change my mind. Well, if you don't change your mind, nothing's going to change between us. And if you're not willing to change your mind, what's the point? Nothing's going to change. So usually when people say that, they mean they're giving you more time for you to change. They're trying to give you some more time so you can change, because I'm not going to change. So I need you to go ahead and take the blame for what's going on, and when you're willing to say it's your fault, then we can move on. Because you know it really is your fault. So, that's why some people in a relationship and jump right into another one without any kind of intervening personal growth work. Because they don't think the problem was them to begin with. So why shouldn't I jump into a new relationship in 2 seconds? It wasn't my fault that it didn't work. It was theirs, and I don't have them anymore, so now I'm ready for the relationship I deserve. And so then they don't see what they did to cause the situation. Or people wait a long time between relationships without working on themselves. Then they forget what they did in the first place. So they do it again too, because they had such a long period of time, they forgot how they created the problem that they had in the last one. So they think just by waiting a long time, they're ready for a relationship. That's another fallacy. Just because you waited a long time, that doesn't mean your mind is any more corrected. It just probably means you forgot what you did that created the problem to begin with the last time. So how do you know you may be ready for another relationship or friendship? Well, you would have done some personal growth work in the meantime. If you haven't done any personal growth work, be it personally reading, studying, anything, then you haven't changed your mind since the last relationship. Stop kidding yourself. You're not different. You're going to get the same thing again. But you will have the fun of it looking like it's a different person for a little while. And that is fun, when you pretended that you changed. That's the good honeymoon period. Okay, so I'm going to go on now, because I know one question can lead to another, and I love questions, but I also want to, for those of us who want to move forward, I want to do both of them, okay? You with me?
Yes.
You with me? Okay.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to make this so simple that you won't have any excuse not to do it. Have you noticed?
Yes.
That nothing I've been saying is beyond anybody's ability in this room to do what they wanted to do. Y'all notice that?
Yes.
I haven't said you had to get all your 7 chakras lit up. I haven't said that you gotta see the interdimensional realities. I haven't said that you have to, make up for what you did in the past life as a maid. You know what I'm saying? Because in the past life, everybody was always a king or queen. They never was a maid. In my past life, I was a drunk that peed on myself. That's what I was. You'll never hear that. I was the king of Siam. And it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in past lives or not, but seriously, could you have screwed up this much in one lifetime? Give yourself a break, okay? But the Course in Miracles says you don't have to believe in past lives in order to benefit from the Course in Miracles, because what? Even if you do believe in past lives, you still can only correct it when? Now, in this one. So whether you believe in them or not doesn't matter. Plus, that's a theoretical issue. Can't prove that to you.
Right.
Right? But I can affect how I look at you from moment to moment. So I can do that. So that's what I need to focus on. It's what I can do now. Not all my dreams about what I actually was the king of science. So yeah. You too. So that's we were Siamese twins. So then you go from a period of relinquishment, and remember, if you're giving up what's valueless, we're talking about what? An idea, a way of thinking, not your clothes, not your physical possessions, ideas. Now, does that relieve some pressure? It really, if you hear it correctly, it would. It really would. The next paragraph says, now comes a period of settling down. This is a quiet time. Now notice if you read in the book, it says, this is a quiet time, then it says comma. When you see a comma, then the Course is about to explain to you exactly what it just said, so you don't have to figure it out. This is a quiet time. What? That's a time in which you rest in reasonable peace. So what do? Well, you consolidate your learning. What does that mean, to consolidate my learning? So you can read the Course and go, what does that mean? Then read the next sentence and go, what does that mean? Now watch me when I do that. Now comes the period of settling down. What does that mean? Well, Raj, this is a quiet time. What does that mean? Well, you're going to rest a while in reasonable peace. What does that mean? Well, you're going to consolidate your learning, dude. What does that mean? Well, you're going to begin to see the transfer value of what you've learned. In other words, you're going to see how you can apply what you've learned to every situation. That's transfer value. If I create how I feel with you, then I create how I feel with her, and I create how I feel with her. See, if it's the truth, I transfer it to everybody. If I create my reality and I'm innocent, you create your reality and you're innocent. I'm transferring it. If I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, you're a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yeah.
See, transfer means I apply it to everybody. Now, we don't like to do transfer in special love relationships. In special love relationships, we like to halt and end all true universal laws. Because in special relationships, they're not based on transfer value. They're not based on treating everybody the same. Special relationships are based on treating someone different from everybody else.
Right.
So that's why special relationships do not last. Because they're not based on changeless love alone. They're made on bargains and scripts that you make with each other, that you love each other as long as they're acted out.
Ooh.
Ow!
Yes.
Oh, ouch! Ooh, ouch, ouch. And then when you meet somebody that says they want to act out your script, and you still get them and you say, I want to act out yours, then you have what you call a marriage made in heaven. You know, because we're going to both act out each other's scripts. Now, does that mean you can't have these kind of relationships? No, not at all. Obviously, if spirit is going to reach us, it has to start with where we are. And where we are is in a bunch of special relationships. So how does that work? Well, since you picked me out above all people, then you should be applying this loving, unconditional forgiveness truth on me more than anybody else. So I'm the one that you get a chance to practice all this love on more than anybody else, because if you can apply it to me, you can certainly apply it to the people that's not as special as I am. Because those are the people you're already giving a break. Yeah, I'm the special one, so I got much more requirements than anybody else. So if I'm going to practice the Course, I need to practice on my special partner. That's the person I need to take the most responsibility with, realize that they're not creating the way that I'm feeling, that they deserve unconditional love, that I should support them in who they really are, that I should not be trying to manipulate them into making them be exactly what I think. In other words, everything I'm reading in this book, they're my own special lab. Now, what's cool about that? Well, you claim you was all in love with them, so that should be the easiest person in the world to do this with. You know, if you my yummy pie, then why should it be hard for me to want to kiss on you, hug on you, acknowledge you, tell you how wonderful you are, tell you to be protected, be safe for you, remind you that you're a beautiful, unlimited spirit. You should be the easiest person in the world. And then I get a chance to get your love in, we get a chance to go to dinner, we go out to movies, and we can dance, and while we're on the dance floor, we say, God is the love in which I forgive you, baby. That's what you're doing. You're on the dance floor saying, you know what I'm saying, you are spirit. I give you all the meaning you have for me. I give your butt all the meaning it has for me. I give your thighs all the meaning it has for me. See, they practice the Course in Miracles on their body.
Oh.
Look at these lips. All the meaning it has for me, baby. Look very white. See, you can make it fun. You understand what I'm saying? If you say you in this relationship, then why is it a strain to practice the truth on someone you say you care about more than anybody unless you lie? Did y'all hear the pen? It's so quiet in here. You can hear anything. Now, some of you may find yourselves getting irritated when I talk. You know, it's like you may find it like your little sphincter muscle getting tight. That's how you know I'm telling the truth about you. That's how I know you know I pegged you. And guess what? You're still innocent. You're still loved. I'm not condemning you. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying if you're not happy, there's some erroneous thinking going on. And we need to know what the erroneous thinking is and just change it. And why should it be so hard with somebody you say you love or a friend you say you really care about? Think about that just for a minute. Why does it work to change your mind about someone that you say you care about? It shouldn't be. It should be like an opportunity. Really. Like, wow, you know, this is an important relationship with me. And I want us to get past anything that makes us feel separate from each other, because anytime we feel separate from each other, that's time when we could be loving and appreciating each other that we're not. And I don't want to miss 5 minutes of your love. I had somebody say that to me. It made me want to get over it quick. I felt kind of stupid trying to hang on to the grievance, actually. You're right. This is time we could be really having a good time. But I'm hanging on to this grievance because I don't think I deserve to feel this good. So I don't want to let this grievance go because I don't deserve the pleasure I would get if I let it go. That's different from saying, I don't want to let it go because you hurt me. I don't want to let it go because I don't think I deserve to feel so good.
Oh.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
All right. Its potential is what? Literally staggering. Now the teacher of God is now at the point in your progress at which you see your whole way out of this.
Out of it.
What is it? Give up what you do not want. Keep what you do. Now this is deep instructions. I'll say it one more time. So this is really deep. This is what's going to handle the whole idea of sacrifice. Got it? Keep what you do want. Let go of what you no longer want. Then that's the end of sacrifice. Because no one's asking you to give up something that you don't want to give up yet. So how do you know you shouldn't give up something? Because you don't want to. How do you know you should keep it? Because you do want to. And the Course says, how simple is the obvious? How easy to do? You know? I've completely changed my way of eating. Now, for years I heard I should change my way of eating, but I didn't want to. So it was looked at as a sacrifice. Then I felt like I was dying, I got motivated. So, the first thing I had to do was,
Give up red meat.
no, that's the last thing that I did.
Sugar.
No.
Give up
The first thing you do is don't.
Change your mind.
Let me tell you. That's true too. That's true too. The first thing I did was studied my ass off. I studied everything the Course in Miracles had to say about anything around the body and the ways to look at it differently. I put everything the Course in Miracles said on health and healing. I recorded it in my own voice, saying it to me. Then I listened to it on my iPod all night, all day, every day, because I knew I need to have, because the Course says the body is not the proper aim for healing. That's the biggest trick of all, is to go to, it's the red meat, as if the body creates its own illness. The body doesn't create its own illness according to the Course. It's coming from the mind's projection of guilt onto the body. Okay? So there was a lack of love going on. There was some fear going on. So the first thing I needed to do was change my mind. Then step 2 became, all right? Step 2 became, what would I do as a physical symbolic gesture to show that I had faith in what I was doing? So then you followed up with something, you can apply this to anything, money, relationships. The truth you can transfer. So what I'm saying to you right now, you can apply to whatever you think you're going through. But if you don't go straight to the truth, if you don't go straight to God, if you don't, then you haven't changed your mind. You're just like any other person walking the street that thinks everything is being caused by something outside of themselves. And your ego is going to always say, rush to the body. You got a financial problem, rush to the credit union, rush to the outer world, rush to try to get a job. No, the first thing you do is you try to read everything that your spiritual practice says to you about that issue, so that you can change your mind about that issue and recognize what the Course says is that there's only one problem and there's only one solution. He says the whole idea that we have many problems is what keeps our problems from being solved. Now when I first read that, I went, wow, that is true. I do think I have many problems, and many people around me think that. He says, that's your problem. That you think you have many problems. And whenever you think you have many problems, he says you've set up a psychological state that your problem cannot be solved because you're not telling yourself the truth. And if you're not telling yourself the truth, then you don't get the solution. Okay, so he said, so what does that mean? To tell yourself, number one, Earl, you have one problem, your sense of separation from God. You have one problem, your sense that you're not connected to your source. You have one problem, you've forgotten that you're connected to everything and everyone. That's your only problem. And that problem has taken many different forms, including the form of whatever you think is going on with your body, your finances, your relationships, your job, your car. Those are just different manifestations of the one problem, which is I think I'm separate from love. I think I'm separate from source. I think I'm separate from God. So when you begin to wake up, that's the first place you go. You go, my God, I'm having this problem right now because I think I'm separate from God. And it's taking the form of me having a really bad toothache. Or it's taking the form of me having problems on my job. See, that's the way a conscious being does it. A conscious being does not get caught up in the effect before they work on the cause. When you're asleep, you think everything is the effect level, so you go straight out in the world to try to solve it and never get it solved because it just changes form. And then you get the problem with your boss handled, then it becomes a problem with your money. You get the problem with your money handled, then you notice that there's a crick in your neck, and then you get that problem solved. And you see what I'm saying? It just changes, it just keeps changing form until you get to the real cause, which is I think I'm separate from source. I've lost my awareness of my connection to love. That's the first place you go. So then as a physical gesture, then I change my diet. Then you deal with it at that level. After you told yourself the truth, then you do a symbolic gesture to the universe to say, hey, I'm willing to experience a different outcome. Because God is the healer. But this is my way of saying, I'm not buzzed. Okay, I'm really ready for a shift. You know, because I'm going to actually back it up with some kind of physical act. So if you're not doing that, you just shucking and jiving about whatever change you say you want to make. If you're not going to the causative level, which is your thinking first, then following it up with a physical act, because action is thought in physical motion outwardly perceived. Action is thought in physical motion outwardly perceived. So how much of your actions are just mental without being followed up with any kind of physical act? Most of them are. 90% of people who say they want changes, they just think about it. They don't actually do anything symbolic of really showing that they're serious about it, especially in relationships. Okay? So,
One more time, repeat that.
which one?
Action is thought.
Action is thought in physical motion, outwardly seen or perceived. You know, like for instance, I'm having the thought of hugging this brother. So when I do this, then my action is physically perceived. That wasn't just me imagining it, I did it. So if your life isn't made up of any actions that are different, you're just kidding yourself. You know, oh, I really appreciate my partner. Boy, I appreciate everything about you and everything you do. I appreciate that breakfast you fixed me this morning. You know, I appreciate you picking my toes for me. What kind of freaking look are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You're not saying, I think I love you. You're looking at your friend or your partner and you're saying, I love you.
Right.
You're not saying, I think I'm gonna apologize. You're going, look here, even if I consciously or unconsciously seem to have caused you any kind of pain, even though I'm ultimately the one that's responsible for my pain, then I'm willing to say it. I'm willing to say, hey, I don't want any of my actions to be painful for you, even if it's you creating it. So, you know, let me know what's going on so we can maybe get past this. That's the way people talk to each other when you've begun to let go of enough of your guilt to believe that you deserve to be happy. And it's a process. So if you're not there yet, that's okay. You're sitting in this class. That means you're willing to change. That you actually have a little bit of willingness that Spirit is asking for us. Because it took effort for you to put on your clothes, get in the car, come over here and come to this class. So you've already shown that you have that little bit of willingness necessary. You've already done a physical gesture to show that you're willing to change your mind. Now don't listen to your ego that still condemns you and say you're still not doing enough. Because your ego is just a conversation in your head. It's just mind talk. That's what the ego is. It's just, Earl, you know things will never work out for you. You know that you'll never be enough. You can teach 1,000 years. Nothing's going to happen to you. You kind of hip that by now, right? You know that nothing's going to, people are not going to really appreciate you. Y'all know the conversation.
Yeah.
So you realize that, but you guess what? Who is it that's telling me that? Mm-hmm. Me. My ego is completely fueled by me. If I wasn't giving it the energy to say that to me, it would have none. So my ego actually is dependent on me to exist. So when I stop telling me to tell me that, then I stop telling me that. But until then, I'll keep telling me that. And then I'll have relationships that tell me that too. So that I can really believe it, because a lot of people see it.
Wow.
Got it? So in the beginning, you might have to separate yourself from what's valueless. And what's valueless is that people, for a while, would be the people who are still convincing you that you're a victim. And then for a while, you may not be able to be around those friends for a minute until you get strong in your new belief. And then when you get strong in your new belief, you can be around anybody. But in the beginning, you might have to separate yourself until you become strong in your new way of being loving. People won't do that either. They think they're going to make the change and hang out. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're going to stop doing drugs, right? But then you're going to hang out with the drug dealer. It's going to be a little bit difficult. Right? So you can't say you want to be a more loving person and then still hang out with people who constantly judge and condemn it and criticize it at first. Now, once you get centered, then you actually become the light. So you can go right around them, not be the least bit affected by what they're saying, and then representing the alternative that they've forgotten. And then you become their savior because you're bringing the light. And you don't have to say anything to do it. The best light is the one that doesn't say anything. They just think the truth. They don't say anything. Because then they don't have to deal with the person's ego that's going to oppose them and say they're crazy. So it's easier to practice the truth silently than it is to be telling people what you think. You know, that's a mistake that we tend to make. We feel a need to discuss it rather than to just be it. Just think it, you know. So I want to be loving with you. I want to think the truth when I'm around you. I want to remember who you are when you forget. I want to see you as the light of the world, even if you don't think you are. That's what we're here for. That's what a Savior does. That's what juicy, gorgeous, innocent beings like you do. Would you acknowledge yourself, Holy Spirit? Another episode of As the Black Man Rants. Very important. So we're going to do the financial expression of appreciation. I'm a full-time teacher of this stuff. I don't charge for it, so that maybe people can come no matter what their financial situation, because I'm trusting that those who are there to give and share will do that. Because they love me, and they know I eat like them.
We love you.
Thank you very much. And I love you too, because you are me. So let me send this around. Those of you on the internet that are watching, hey y'all! Y'all been so cool. Y'all been sending me some of the best emails that I could ever imagine. And if you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, you can just go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can make a sharing right from the homepage. And I'm also available for one-on-one sessions called clarity sessions. And where we take whatever the issues that you've been driving yourself crazy about for years that you think is unsolvable and give you another way to look at it that could change your experience of it. So go to my website and it explains my clarity sessions in detail. And so if you think it would be something that would be helpful for you, I'd be glad to get with you on a one-on-one, on the phone or in person if you're local. So you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home to realize another way of looking at it. There are no original problems. Yours is not, you're not that special. Yeah. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that you got a problem that, you know, that you could, if the creator was a man, let's just pretend for a second, and you presented your issue and God said, damn! You got your issue. That's the way we act. You're like, but it isn't my problem. You know, my problem is bigger than anybody's problem. Well, isn't that special? You're so special. Your problem is the worst it's ever been. So I'm going to do a quick review. And I want you to just rest and listen to it. And just let my voice go through you. All right? Let me penetrate your being. Oh, boy. Because we're in it to win it. Y'all ready? Say on. One more time, on. Here you go. The next stage is the period of relinquishment. And if you think that you are going to be giving up what's desirable, you're going to feel a conflict. If you feel a conflict, it means that you have misperceived what you were seeing. So if you studied the Course in Miracles and you feel conflict, I want you to know that it means that you are misperceiving what you are seeing. When you get to the point that you recognize what's valueless, you have to take the next step, the next step. The next step is to let go of what's valueless and keep what's valuable. That's what you want to do. What did I say? I say, give up what you do not want and keep what you do want. You got to give up what you don't want and keep what you do want. You got to give up what you don't want and keep what you do want. You got to give up what you don't want and keep what you do want. Now you need this little period of respite. You haven't come as far as you think you have yet, but guess what? When you're ready to go on, you're going to go with mighty companions beside you. You got mighty companions beside you. Look at your mighty companions beside you. They don't exactly thrill you, do you? So one more time. Look at your mighty companions beside you. But you're going to rest a while. You're going to rest a while. And you're going to gather your mighty companions before going on, because you will not go on from here alone. I will not go on from here alone. And what? I will not go on from here alone. I will not go on. Now anybody that feels like saying it, saying it. I will not go on from here alone. Tell somebody you will not go on from here alone. You will not go on from here alone. You will not go on from here alone. Give up what you don't want and keep what you do want. Give up what you don't want and keep what you do want. I give up what I don't want and keep what I do want. I give up what I don't want and keep what I do want. You place your future in the hands of God. I place my future in the hands of God. I place my future in the hands of God. I place my future in the hands. Now guess what? I am entitled to miracles. Say what? I am entitled to more. What? I like this one. I bless the world because I bless myself. 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 Would you acknowledge yourself, God? I sent out links to videos so you get a chance to watch the class a week, so make sure you sign this if you haven't had a chance to. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, I do a class called The Way of Mastery. It's really a deep, powerful class. Love for you to come. And so I'd like to say, may the course be with you. I appreciate y'all. Hugs are available. I bless you in the upcoming week. There's going to be a lot of people ready to give you some gifts. And so you love them. You're so doggone juicy and sweet.